My name is Kim Greenhouse, and I'm doing this video today because I've had 5 days of contemplation, looking at videos, searching my own soul to see how I feel, what I think about the Charlie Kirk assassination. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the producer and host of a show called It's Rainmaking Time, about new and ancient knowledge and discovery. I also am the chief executive officer of the Rainmaking Company, which is about the art and science of delivery. I want to talk about several things in this video. I want to talk about how the public is dealing with this assassination. I want to talk about law enforcement, the response of law enforcement. I want to talk about investigation in general. And I want to talk about the reaction from this particular administration at this tough time. First, I want to give my condolences to Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica, and their children, parents, grandparents, everybody that is connected on a family level to Charlie, friends, associates, close contacts, and all the people who feel this great loss, including great anger that their friend, colleague, family member was violently assassinated on a public level and lost his life. I didn't know much about Charlie Kirk. I only knew that he was a leader, he was a rainmaker, that he was a builder, that he influenced a lot of people, and a lot of people felt connected to him and what he said, that were very religious, that were connected to traditional values, that were concerned about the United States and where it was going and the conditions that have unfolded, that were worried about immigration and many other issues. And what I understand about him, even though I've probably seen more videos of him now than I ever have, is that many loved what he spoke about and many were angry about what he spoke about, both, depending where you were, what your perspective was. I will say that you really should be able to speak without being murdered. And I think that's a lesson for all of us, that we should be able to speak and share ourselves and what we think and what we believe without being murdered, you know? And so on behalf of that, that's also a great loss. How many people now won't speak, won't step forward, won't lead, won't take the lead because they're afraid? So it's a great fear inducer. When there's an assassination, it's a great fear inducer. And it's the cold-blooded nature of it definitely makes us wonder if it's worth it or not. And now I want to talk a little bit about the public response to his assassination. You know, those of us that are old enough have lived through many assassinations. John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and so many other leaders and people. And unfortunately, we've come to now not respect and not appreciate law enforcement. Many of us feel that law enforcement has become corrupted and is operating in an off-the-mark way. It's systemic within the department. And, you know, you can bring in new leadership and still, you know, have the agency itself not working at its best. So when the public reacts with skepticism, negativity, anger, rage, and doesn't trust what the FBI and law enforcement is saying, this is not a time to diss the public or write off the public. The public has been trained over many years to not trust law enforcement. It's sad, but it's true. So to the people that don't trust law enforcement, I get it. I appreciate it. I understand it. And you have every right not to trust law enforcement. However, we can contribute to aid in the law enforcement process by the way we handle our frustration. For example, this is a new FBI. We have a lot of pressure. They have a lot of pressure on them in their leadership to immediately have answers. Who was it? Who did it? Where's the evidence? And the pressure is not only intense from the public, the pressure is intense from the Trump administration. And it's a new FBI leader. Okay, it is different than anything else he's done. It's different. And so it's only, 8-9 months into it? That's new. That's very new. So while I know a lot of people are very angry and upset with Kash Patel and his leadership and Dan Bongino and the rest of them, you don't have to accept what they're saying, but empower them to get the best information and evidence that can be found. The other part is message to the FBI is, and you may already be doing this, stay open that you don't have the information you need. You don't have the correct information you need. There are other areas of the crime scene that are just being left adrift, that are not being tended to. Like the camera was taken off the stage. Who took that camera? Okay, I would pull them into the FBI if I were working the FBI. I would like to know, why did you take that? Where's the tape for that? That was facing Charlie's talk. In other words, it was in his back. All the people that were around the stage, I would want to know every single name of every person within 20 feet that circled that stage. Okay, and every name of every person, whether they're security detail, law enforcement or not, that was on the stage with him. The next thing to the FBI, and you probably already have this, is I would want to see the forensic examination the pathologist did of his body that afternoon, before he left the hospital, okay, to be buried or to be, embalmed. Because the forensic pathology tells us a lot. What came in, where did it come in, where did it go? All the intricate details, very important. And it would actually settle a lot of the public angst that's going on. It would really calm a lot of people down that the FBI was at least being transparent about a part of it, a key part of it. A key part of it is his body. He was murdered in public in cold blood. So I think the public deserves that. The public deserves answers about that. Now, I know from interviewing Sarah Wecht, who examined John F. Kennedy's body, that there's a lot of pressure on pathologists to go with the flow of what they're told to write versus what they found. Today, in the last 20 years, there's tons of pressure even on pathologists to write something different than what they actually found. So, God willing, the pathologist that examined Charlie's body wrote an accurate assessment of what was found. And that would be very important. That would settle some of the public's discomfort and distrust with the FBI and also local law enforcement. The other thing is that, Charlie, as I understand, and from watching videos of him, was very eloquent, very articulate, very sharp, very guided and directed, very religious, very spiritual. And so many people loved him, and other people were totally opposed to everything he was talking about. And so there's going to be a mixed bag. But I want to say another thing about this. I feel in my heart, after listening to many videos from him and about him speaking, he would be very upset if his death was a cause célèbre to squelch free speech. And, I've interviewed Dr. Edwin Vera, who's a constitutional master on the Constitution. Free speech is not about speech we want to hear. It's about speech we don't want to hear. And people have different reactions. You know, a lot of people hated JFK too. Like, the country loved him, but a lot of people hated him. So the fact that people, because they're on social media, say mean, bad things and they vent, you know, it doesn't make them murderers. It doesn't make them, crossing free speech. Now, if you ask me, you know, is it appropriate for a teacher? Is it appropriate for a judge? Is it appropriate for law enforcement? Is it appropriate for agencies in the government? Is it appropriate for the military to be spewing hateful rhetoric about him during this time? Very unwise, lacking leadership, lacking any decent decorum. And if I were your superior, I would fire you. I wouldn't just give you a leave of absence. I would fire you, because I don't want anybody on this team that has no class, no decency, no decorum, no social etiquette, when a major public figure, who single-handedly, went out of his way and gave it everything he got and had to put the Trump administration in office. Now, whether you like Donald Trump or not, whether you like the president or not, that's a different story. But that's the administration that we are in. We're in the Trump administration. And the reality is that people have to be able to vent. And people are going to vent things that are terrible that we don't like to hear. And so there's this thing happening where people are tattling on people that don't work for the government, that aren't in a leadership position in the military, that aren't in the military, that aren't in law enforcement, where you better exercise decorum, because you're not just representing you, you're representing the administration. So I want to say that about Charlie's passing should not be a cause célèbre to take away our free speech or to put people in jail because they said mean, terrible things. I think they're mean, terrible things, a lot of what's being said, And I didn't agree with everything Charlie Kirk said, but that's a different story. Yeah, do I think these people are terrible to say a lot of the things they said? Absolutely. Vulgar, horrible, horrific, in poor taste, awful. But they have the right to say it. And his presence should not be a ushering in of squelching of free speech and the First Amendment. It's wrong. It's wrong. And he wouldn't be okay with it. He would not be okay with it, no matter how angry a lot of us are and upset. The potential, all of the people that are using their energy, their upset, their shock, their sadness, their anger, to focus on trying to figure out who did it and how did it happen. I mean, it's to be commended. Even if people are wrong, even if people can't get the right information, even if people make mistakes, you know what? Better they channel their energy to trying to find out what happened than committing crimes or lashing out. So it's the way the energy gets directed during this very difficult time. There are a lot of problems with the investigation, the crime scene, the way a lot of things have been handled. And, having the camera taken away from the stage right in the first couple of minutes of him being shot is I just don't even understand this. Why there was no ambulance at a university that there were thousands of people as a backup. Why there were no security on the buildings or scopes or a drone watching the buildings. This guy was a very high-profile target. He's up there. He was up there. I don't understand that. What kind of leadership didn't tend to that? I would want to know everybody that was on the stage with him, Who are they? What was their role? What were they doing? And in the periphery, around that stage, tent. Very upsetting. What were those hand signals going on? We just want to know. I don't know what they mean. On stage. And, to the three-letter agency, the public does not buy your story, your translation of the event. Between this guy, his gun in the woods, people aren't buying it. And it's making them, the story is making them distrust you more and more and lose their faith in you. So I think there's a distinction between the pressure to come up with a story to satisfy the public and the real data. The real data should still be, obviously, still being gathered. I would geolocate everybody with a cell phone all around the stage and on the stage and behind the stage. I'm sure you're doing it. But perhaps it would be better if the FBI and other agencies would say, look, we're going to leave no stone unturned, and we're not done, but give the public something of substance. Coming up with a gun and that person and a name and a story is not doing it. I don't even think Charlie Kirk would believe it if he were alive. And what does this do to the country? The country does not have to trust the FBI. The country needs to be receptive, and the FBI needs to be receptive to get as much data that they could not get in that event. I don't know how local law enforcement, and the head of the university, Mr. Cox, works with the FBI and law enforcement and how all that information flows, but it would be good to have a translation of that. How does it work? Where does the information go? Who was the doctor that examined Charlie Kirk? Who was the pathologist that did the autopsy? And to the people who were upset watching Mrs. Kirk on video touching her husband's hands in the casket, if you've ever seen a dead body before that's been embalmed, that's what it looks like. It always looks waxy and discolored and unlike the real person's body skin color. It's pretty normal. And some are better than others. My mother was not embalmed. And I did not have her embalmed because prior in my life I'd seen other bodies embalmed and they didn't even look like them. They were terrible. It's terrible to look at. And so I had her washed and I had her made up and clothes that she loved. I actually put my dog's ashes in a bag in her hand because she wanted to be buried with the dog Candy. But what I'm saying is the embalming fluid creates that. It doesn't mean it's fake. It doesn't mean Charlie's body is not really there. And there's a lovely mortician that's been talking about how it really works online. I forgot her name right now, but she's very good. But I knew that instantly that was his body. And I have to say, I'm not real happy about people within not even 24 hours saying they're going to take on where Charlie left off. There's a couple of leaders and people in podcasting that were saying that. And I just think that was in poor taste. His wife is a different story, but anybody else other than his wife, I think that was in extremely poor taste and shouldn't have been done. The public needs to sit with this. We need to contemplate it. We need to get insights from it. God will give us insights and direction. What can be done? What's the next step? How can we help the family? What does it mean to help the family? There's so many families that need help. So it's what we do with what happened. And the distinction between who did it and what happened are universes apart. We don't need to know who did it. We need the accurate composition of what happened. Once we really know what happened, we'll know who did it. It feels like a team that was involved. Not a person, not a patsy, a team. And it seemed more sophisticated than it appears. It's not as it appears. Stay open, stay receptive. Try to be nice to other people. Don't insult them online if you can avoid it. Disagree, but don't be disagreeable. Easier said than done. I saw some investigator calling people morons within an hour of the assassination. I mean, for what? People were just trying to contribute, what they saw. So stay in prayer, stay in contemplation, stay in meditation. Keep asking how you can help if you feel guided that way. We're very sorry for the loss of Charlie Kirk and the people that lost him. Teams of people across the country lost the leadership. The administration lost his support. His wife and children don't have him anymore. Not in the flesh. In the spirit, yes. And so I'm going to sign off. It's Kim Greenhouse from It's Rainmaking Time. We hope you take this to heart and ponder what I said. Thank you so much.